Welcome to Dance Spot. So, communication and interaction is what I um, kind of base my project on. And as humans, we communicate for ultimately everything, and without it, we fall. In the workplace, we communicate to run business efficiently. And so, how can I incorporate a product that is playful, but also promotes workplace interactions and relationships? So I started out doing a mind map, kind of like I did with the urn, and with touch, with the tactile sense of it, does it express a heavy or a light? Like when you look at it, does it express a dynamic change, like a changeable object, or does it express just something that's static that sits there on the desk and does nothing? With colors, did I want to have it something that's more eye-catching and shiny and vibrant, or something more soft and lighthearted? With the sounds, we communicate every day by sound, and so that's like our main communication point. And the pitch and the tones, are they loud and or quiet? Are they harsh or soft? With motion, we have, we communicate by gestures and hand movements, and we don't always need sound to communicate. We can communicate just by our attitude and the way we present our bodies to somebody else. Visually, we use facial expressions, and the lighting of a room or environment can make a huge difference on how we interact with each other. So this kind of led me into some questions that I was asking myself with this Arduino specifically. I said, how can I create an object with Arduino that builds relationship? And I kind of said, it can be one that promotes daily interaction, something that you come into work every day and it's something new, it's dynamic. How can I help the workplace stay lighthearted? And that can be a product that can make a coworker laugh and smile. How will my product make people laugh? And so then I started going into the music, and is it changeable? Is it something that isn't the same every single day? And then how can I incorporate the look of the Arduino into my project while still encasing it securely? And then I wanted my project to be one that gives the workplace a special surprise each day, uniting them with humor. So this is my wiring diagram, and it consists of an Arduino Uno, a mini breadboard. I actually could not find the prototype expansion module on Fritzing, so I kind of just like had to skip over to the mini breadboard and skip over that part. But it consists of 8 wires, 2 LEDs, a button, a passive buzzer, and a 10K resistor. So the assembly is pretty simple. And once I finished up the wiring and the coding on the Arduino board, I placed it inside my box. That was the head, closed it, plugged in the battery through the hole in the bottom, and then pressed the nose to start it. This is a little video showing. Then I wanted to show, hold on, my thing is in the way. I wanted to show that it can be customizable with the color of the eyes, position of body, and song choice. So, every time you look at it, it could be something new if you wanted it to be. All right, so now these are my little stop motion videos.
Can I turn on the volume a little bit, please?
Turn up the volume.
Yeah, I can barely hear it.
Okay. Is that on my screen or like do I just turn up my computer volume, do you think?
Yes, I think it's the sound coming from your computer, which I can hear through the microphone.
Okay. Here's the last one. That's it.
So my project is about Arduino and with music, and also how to help children to enjoy playing music, like play piano. So here's my example, and here's my the Arduino board I'm building. So it's a pretty simple instrument right now. It can just like playing piano. You can just tap the button and it will come out as simple music. But the problem right now is not really have a relationship of how to help children to make the learning the way how they learn the play instruments more fun or more interesting. So it reminds me of the teenager engineer project. They have a lot of colorful and interesting project on sale. So I'm thinking how I can come up a similar idea that use the modular design, which children can assemble them and then they can tap on them and they can play music. Also, they can learn from the playing. So here is my design. The server cube, and on the top left is the microphone, is a speaker. Sorry, a speaker, and the others are the a touch module. So here's the example. Children can assemble them like assemble them together, put them together in a line, and they can they can play a memory test, and they just repeat that. Oh, I think there's something wrong with my animation. It should play some music, but I don't have the sound add into the PowerPoint. So it's just
the
like
coffin song still in my head.
Yeah. So that's it.
Screen. So
well,
how about this? Do you feel
good.
better?
Yep.
Okay. Should I restart it?
Whatever you want to do, you're in control.
Okay. So hello everyone, and today I'm going to present my hammers carbies. So first I go to the research. Do you always feel anxieties during the special times? Do you always want to punch the table when you when you lose a game? So my design brief is to design a toys like can make me feel reduce the user's pressures and make you fun. And also my design should like automatons movement. It should not have any buttons. So I'm going to research about the Arduino board. Arduino board is a interesting part. you can connect the electronic sensors. So in this case, I don't need any buttons, and also Arduino board can connect the servers. So the servers can do any motions you want. It is a pretty fun toys. But the problem is, how can I connect the Arduino and my toys? So I got to move points. So when I'm thinking about like what should my toys outside look like, a wise man advised me to use Carby for and then I think about this, and I think using a cartoon characters or a game characters is better for user to the users are easy easy to accept this because they're familiar with this, especially for some Nintendo lovers. They may have like they may pretty get in with this. So I decided to did a Carby. Why Carby? Because Carby always with his hammers. So I think it should be pretty fun. So I go with the connection. So I have two missions. First, I should figure out how can I connect the ultrasonic sensors, and then I also need the sensor connect to motivate the servers. So in this case, I can figure out my design brief motion, but not buttons. And this is my code. So yeah, so you can see this toy is on the on my table, where each time when I get angry, I want to punch the tables. So the electronic sensors will detect this, and then it will hit me and make me fun. Let's go again. Yeah. Do. So as you can see, what I use is form, is soft forms. Soft form is can change any any type. You can change to Link, change to Mario's. It's not the best material, but right now I only can get this. So if it's possible, I can use like vacuum foams or a lot other plastic. It will be better. Let's go to the next page. So I make a cat mode. As you can see, this is the Carby, and this is the sensors. Okay, do you guys have any questions? All right. Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, so this is unlimited. The design criteria was to basically program an Arduino to enhance playtime for children. So I did a little kind of some research. So kids, they have crazy imaginations. They can escape to unparalleled worlds, create their own entire universe in their own head without even leaving their room. Sometimes they can feel like this on top of the world, invincible. And then at others, they're scared of everything, scared of the dark, afraid to leave their room. So I found a quote from Mary Dobbins. She's an MD, a pediatrician and child psychiatrist in Illinois. She says that imaginations run wild at night, kind of leading to this vulnerability that they may have to be scared of the dark. So having this big imagination sometimes comes at a cost for kids. So I asked, how can technology be implemented into a toy to enhance their playtime when they're invincible and then also protect them when they're scared? I came across things called open-ended toys. They allow for great creative freedom, doesn't lock a kid into one certain type of play. With things like movie characters being turned into toys, kids kind of follow that same story, so it kind of limits their creative freedom. They follow that story over and over because that's what they know. And then CincinnatiChildren's.org says that a nightlight may be helpful for providing security, even if they're not afraid of the dark. It just adds that level of comfort for them at night. So moving into the Arduino, I was wondering how I could incorporate those aspects into a toy. So I used multiple lights and some tilt sensors and photoresistors to turn on the lights whenever it gets dark. And here's my code, kind of showing how I coded it out and what I did. So here's the prototype model showing kind of all the wiring and everything. You can see the photoresistor at the very front. And then we'll move into a little video, show how it works. So when it's tilted down, there's a buzzer to simulate a crash sequence. And then here you can see playing with the toy changes from a nice smooth ride to a crash landing. And then here you can see it at the bedside, turning on at night, providing ambient light for the child by his bedside. And the base also serves as a clock and charging unit. So whenever you place it onto the base, it will recharge overnight and also serve as a little alarm clock. And that's it.
Years. 40 years I've been hunting this crab. And I never caught him. And now, I don't think I ever will. But you, my son, my boy, you have a chance. A chance to succeed where your old man failed. Capture the crab. But be careful. Right when you think you caught him, you've fallen right into his trap. Introducing Crab Trap, the latest in quarantine entertainment. To start, put the beast's lair across from a wall or a large flat surface. Then, wait, listen. You hear that beep? Yes, that one. That beep is the key to catching the beast. Listen close. If the beep is fast, then that means the sweet spot is closer to the beast's lair. If the beep is slower, that means the sweet spot be closer to the wall. Now, if you step foot and you're not in the sweet spot, one of two things is gonna happen. One, the crab's gonna get really angry, and you know it, and the game will start over again. New sweet spot in a different location. Or two, you'll hear a long drawn out tone. Something to let you know that you're close to the sweet spot, but you're not quite there yet. Now, be careful. If you hear this tone, either direction could lead to a watery grave. And that's the end of me tale. Enjoy Crab Trap.
So I think that at some point it's a little hard to hear the audio, but to rephrase, when you set the device up, it measures the distance away from the wall, and it generates a random sweet spot. The closer the sweet spot is to the crab trap game, the faster that beep is. The further away it is, kind of the more spaced out that beep is. So, that's kind of the introduction of how it works, but I want to get into kind of how I arrived here, and I want you guys to think of the children. So this is a time when a lot of kids are going through something that we as adults are struggling with. Quarantine is hard enough when you've already got some things kind of figured out, but as a kid, not being able to see your friends, not being able to interact socially can be a real problem for other kids. Kids and teenagers are incredibly disrupted right now. When you take away the structure of the school day, they feel really lost and may feel a tremendous amount of anxiety and depression. That's kind of referring to the COVID right now that's going on. I mean, even me as kind of a semi-adult, I've struggled having a concrete school day. It's tough to kind of like get into a zone, and it's difficult to sort of stay positive and stay focused. And if you think of kids who are having to social distance from their friends, their closest connections, there's really only kind of their parents around. And so let's think of the future and think of the parents. So right now, the parents are stressed. I think that a poll came out that 73% of parents thought that teachers should be paid more after having to spend quarantine with their kids. And so what do you do when you have these kids who are crazy high energy, when they're bored, when they're anxious? A lot of parents, unfortunately, put them in front of a screen or allow them to be in front of a screen. And that's how a lot of people are spending quarantine, myself included, for a bulk of the time. But for a kid, decreased sensitivity to emotional cues is one of the costs. Understanding the emotions of other people, the displacement of in-person social interaction by screen interaction seems to be reducing social skills. The more time kids spend at screens, the less time they spend looking at other people, assessing their emotions, learning nonverbal cues. And so this is where Crab Trap comes in. No screens, no other players, no problem. And so this allows, when I wanted to design, I didn't want to design a toy, I wanted to design a game. And so even, that little clip of me, which, so I mean, me and my brother actually, as pretty grown people, sat and played this for like an embarrassingly long amount of time last night, because it's a game and it's engaging, because it's challenging. So that's what I wanted to create, because if you can have that kind of without a screen, then even though you might not have someone next to you to play, you're keeping yourself entertained without kind of numbing your mind, I guess. So this is some reference material, my circuit diagram, input from the sonic sensor, output to the buzzer and the motor and the LEDs. But this is kind of where this is where I spend the most time.
So this is all standard stuff, just defining notes, initializing melody, setting the tempos for both of the melodies. The loop starts, and it's important to know that you can adjust the difficulty of the game, so you can change kind of the breadth of that sweet spot to make it easier or harder. And sort of the standard loop is the game starts, the crab trap actually reads the maximum distance away from the wall, and then using that maximum distance, it generates a sweet spot within some certain boundaries within that distance. And if you're in the sweet spot, it dances as you saw. If you're close to the sweet spot within 10 centimeters plus the difficulty, then it gives you the kind of sort of the warning. And if you're outside of that spot, then it is game over. And the whole thing resets and it generates a completely new sweet spot. And in order to do this, I kind of had to write, I couldn't use a standard setup. I had to write an additional my setup command. I used a lot of these where you're writing kind of additional algorithms. So I had setup, I had sing, I had rage, and I had buzz, are all separate algorithms that I had to work with in order to actually get everything to carry out. So that's it. Questions?
Welcome to Arduino Toy, and I'll just get started. 20 seconds. 20 seconds is all it takes to rid your hands of those evil, pesky viruses. 20 seconds is a long time. Imagine doing any mundane task for 20 seconds. Now imagine you are a high-energy kid. Exactly. Hard, right? Well, not anymore. Now introducing the new Bubble Buddy. In these unknown times, there are a few things we can control. One of those is thoroughly washing hands. Teaching our kids the importance of hand washing has never been more important. Let's take this ample time we have with our kids and teach them with something fun and playful. With COVID in mind, contactless use is important. Simply wave your hand in front of your Bubble Buddy's face and you're off. Make sure you scrub those pesky viruses. Watch and listen to the cues to know when you're done. Once you're finished, your Bubble Buddy is ready for the next set of hands that need washing. Bubble Buddy goes beyond just hand washing. Including a toothbrush timer is just one more plus to Bubble Buddy. Don't just take my word for it. It's been said that it is greater than when Edison invented the light bulb or when the chicken invented the egg. Yeah, so really just to go into it, I started off with some mind mapping and connecting some links that I wanted to explore and started sketching a few designs, getting into the models from what kind of was a gross model to a much cleaner model, then getting into some CAD and just showing what this would really look like and how people would use it and where it would be. And then my diagrams to show how this works, as well as my code setting up all of that. So thanks. Any questions?
You do a really good process. Awesome, dude.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Do you want to get online and play Hail Mary Buzzer Beater?
Heck yes! Get the mask and play like the pros with the new Hail Mary Buzzer Beater. Now your friends can log in online and connect the digital world to the real world. Guide your shot down the tracks and into the hoop to score points. Just plug it in and you're ready to play. Use the joystick to control the rails. Widen the rails to move the ball down towards the hoop. Can you score? Look at those interesting internal components. Impressive graphics keep your head in the game.
It's so realistic. It's like you're actually there.
When your time comes to shine on the court, are you going to choke? Or are you going to lead your team to victory? Listen to the crowd cheer. Lights out? No problem. The Hail Mary Buzzer Beater lights up so you can play late into the night.
Oh no. All right, that's unfortunate. That was the funniest part. Basically what we missed was Hans at the end with a light, a red light in his face, and he says, "Whoa, it glows in the dark," and then it just cuts to him. But I'm sorry I missed that. Yeah, that's why. So moving on, because of COVID-19, people are now using Zoom, FaceTime, and online games more than ever. This is great, but I feel that there is a need for physical play that is not being met. That is why I made Hail Mary Buzzer Beater, to connect the digital world to play in the real world. My hope is that the consumer can bring Hail Mary Buzzer Beater to a Zoom meeting and play with the group. Arduino manages the toy, a servo and joystick control the rails, an infrared sensor plays sound effects when a goal is made to provide rewarding feedback, and 2 LEDs light up the toy when it's on. Thank you very much.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Chris, and today I will be showing you Jax, which is an interactive nightlight for toddlers. And I got this idea from my nephew Jack. That's why it's called Jax, so it's like Jack's toy. Jack is 1 year and 7 months. Jack is 1 year and 7 months old. His favorite toy is his nightlight, which wasn't initially intended to be a toy, but Jack still enjoys playing with it. It has one button that controls the color and the color patterns. And as Jack is getting older, he's starting to become less interested with this nightlight, with this toy. So I want to create a nightlight with more functionality so that Jack can continue to get excited for bedtime. And I will do this by adding more buttons and functionality as well as basic color theory. So he needs something that's educational. So like I said, I was going to include some basic color theory like red and blue equals purple, something with good sensory feedback. So children really like buttons and switches where if they like click a button, they automatically see a reaction, and something that's entertaining. So something that he can continue to come back to it and it won't be the same old thing happening over and over again. And then here is getting into the Arduino. Here's the code and the wiring chart. And then a video sped up of me assembling it. Well, this is like a 30-second video. It took about 6 minutes to assemble. But yeah, it has one LED RGB light and then 3 buttons that controls each part of that. So like a red, blue, and green button, as well as a tilt sensor that turns the light on and off as it moves. I actually could have probably taken less than 6 minutes, but I had to upload the code. You can see it's working here. And a video showing each button and how each button controls a different light. yeah, and then the tilt sensor. So here is Jax, the final product. So the Arduino would be in the base, and all of this is made from ABS plastic. It has the large tactile buttons, and each button controls a different part of the light, as well as, since it does need to tip over in order to reset, I made the cap of the product to be weighted, so it could easily tip over. And then here is an animation of how it would work. And it turns off when it tips over. And some in context renders, and to also show about the size. So while it is also a toy, it is a night light. And yeah, this is Jack's toy. Thank you.